Hi, this is Mark from Skywagon University, and we're going to do a plane review, just like the old days. Talk about it, fly it, everything. Oh no, a boring 182. We've done those. It isn't, that's the thing. From here, it looks like a 182, and it is a 182, but it's a very rare plane. Some of the features on it that will identify it for a certain model year, if people have been watching my videos, like the later style door handles and some other things, means it's a late model wet wing 182. Why so significant? Well, it's one of about 65 in existence turbo normalized 182 fixed gears. Wheel pants. There's a turboprop about to take off, so we may be interrupted. But anyway, so this is basically a 182 RG fixed gear. So the design of it was the 182R 81 to 86 with the higher gross weight, with the Continental, with the 0470U in it. That plane got a 540 put in it, carbureted, turbo normalized engine, and became the Cessna T182R, not RG. So let's look around it a little bit closer and see what it's like, because parked on a ramp you just think 182R, Continental, who cares? But it's not. It's turbo normalized, and the big giveaway is that exhaust pipe. So let's have a closer look. So the first thing on these turbo normalized 182 fixed gears is the cowling is a bit more blocky than on the 182R with the Continental in it. See, it's kind of more flat topped. It just looks a bit bulkier because the engine's longer. And it's got the later intakes of the 182 RG that I talk about in another video. And then it's got the clamshell cowling, because it's basically a 182 RG front end, which I've handily already loosened to reveal the 540. So here it is. Here's the giveaway. Lycoming. Remember the numbers. 540 cubic inches. TO 540, and then 4 letters. But the T's turbo, O is opposed, horizontally opposed, 540 is the cubic inches displacement of the engine, carbureted. So it's carbureted and turbocharged. So I've done a whole video on turbo normalizing, and this plane is turbo normalized, and the difference between turbo normalizing and turbocharging is in a video called Turbo Normalizing versus Turbocharging, and I get into it in great detail. But just a quick overview, because of this plane's amazing utility, is the turbo normalizing means that below 6,000 feet, the engine can pull 24 inches of manifold pressure, so it does not need the turbo. So you take off at 30, which is what it would do at sea level without a turbo. You pull it back to 24, you climb out, you cruise, and you're in normal 182. In the normalized one, above 6,000 feet, you'll lose an inch of manifold pressure. You replace it with the turbocharging to keep it at 24. And if you go to 20,000 feet and the engine can only do 14 inches of manifold pressure, you give it the 10 with the turbo to fool it into thinking it's still at 6,000 feet, so it's still at 24, so it doesn't know it's turbocharged, it's just getting its air from somewhere else. So you're normalizing it. You don't run it like a 206 at 28 inches and the prop at 2400, and no extra heat, no extra wear, no reduction of TBO. And as you descend, you pull back to keep it at 24 as you descend, and as you go through 6,000 feet, the engine goes, hey, I got it from here, 24 without the turbo. So 6,000 to the ground is no turbo. So that's the beauty of these. The TBO is 2,000 hours with the turbo and 2,000 hours without the turbo. But there is no such thing as a 182 fixed gear carbureted Lycoming non-turbo. So all of these turbo 182Rs are turbo normalized. That's why it's called turbo. So anyway, turbo is here. Pop-off valve is here. And otherwise it looks exactly the same. It's just a small garret. It's down in there. But the main giveaway of any of these is turbos have the exhaust sticking out the front. If this was an RG and it wasn't turbocharged, the exhaust would stick out of the cowl flaps. So big deal with the Lycoming. Long-lived, D-rated. So this engine at 540 cubic inches can go, it can be 235 horse in here. It can be 250 horse, 260 horse. It can be 300 horse, Cherokee 6s. It can go 350 horse in a Navajo Chieftain. So you can imagine at 235 horsepower and 2400 RPM, which is what it's governed to, 2400, this engine is very long-lived and very reliable. And if you ignore this cylinder, that is a 360. So it's 0360, 0540, and then if there's another one here, it's a 0720, which is in a Comanche 400. So that is the reliability of those 360 180 horse Lycomings is this with another 2 cylinders on it. So enough under here, turbo normalized 540. Let's look around the rest of it. Wet wing. All of these turbo fixed gears, because they are 1981 to 1986 manufactured years, are wet winged. And the identifier of a wet wing plane, like I said in another video, is that this right out to here, right out to this line that goes on a rib, this way on the leading edge, these are Cherry Max rivets. And if you look closely, you can see they've got a center. There's a rivet that doesn't. There's a rivet that does. So wet wings, because you have to buck the back of the rivet, and you can't buck the back of the rivet because it's a sealed tank. So if you did buck it, you'd still be in there with your bucking bar. So they use Cherry Max rivets. And I've been told numerous times by mechanics that Cessna never used Cherry Max rivets on it. They did. The wet wings are all Cherry Max rivets like this. If this is original paint. If this plane hadn't been painted, okay, geek. This is the geek. 78 and newer have polyurethane paint with no primer. 79 and newer have polyurethane paint with primer. So this is an 82, sorry, yes, it's an 82. So this has polyurethane paint with primer. It's original. So looked after, these planes stay this good, this long, because that is paint from 1982. If this had been painted, the paint would have beaded hanging from each rivet, as usual, and it hides the Cherry Maxness. So sometimes on a plane that's been painted, you might not see that it's Cherry Maxed as easily on a plane like this that's original. So wet wings, no bladders, 92 gallons of fuel, and it burns about 14, 15 an hour, so you can do the math and see the range. So the way this plane came about is Cessna made the 182RG in 1978. Then 79 wet wing turbo, 80 different cowling, oil cooler moved, a few things. It was such a good plane, they said, let's make a fixed gear version of the RG. And everyone went, well, you've already done that because it's called the 182. The Lycoming engine allows the nose wheel to retract fully up without having a chin on it. That's why the RG was so popular, so that's why they used the Lycoming. So they said, right, we're going to put a Lycoming in it. So we actually had a 182R here. It was the first one of these ever made. It was like an 81 turbo fixed gear. And when you looked in its logs and in its books, it started life at Cessna as a 182R with a Continental 470U in it. Normal in every way, never was sold, stayed at Cessna, and it was the test bed for the Lycoming for this. Then when it was built and certified as a T182R with its Lycoming, sold into the market. So somewhere it's out there. It's a plane that used to be a, that's how similar they are. The 182R became a 180, not set up. Sorry. Awkward. So the 182R became the T182R. So firewall back, this plane is in every way a 1982 182R. But firewall forward, it's got the Lycoming turbo normalizing in it. So they're identical to fly, to own, to manage, to look after, to insure. And being not retractable with the gear, of course, it's easy to insure and maintain. Normal wheel pants, normal gear legs, normal nose wheel. That's what makes them so appealing. And as I said earlier, there's only like 67 of them left. They made them from 81 to 86. They made like 123. Civil Air Patrol hammered the shit out of a lot of them. But there's just through attrition and export and you know, storms and crashes, there's only about 67 of them left. Okay, under the front. Not a lot going on here. No gear doors. Same cowling, same pieces, but it's got a piece in here with a little deflector on it to fill the hole where the nose gear would retract. And if you actually opened that and looked in it, there's a big cavity where the wheel would retract. So it's the same cowling, same landing lights. And then talking about the gear, let's go to the back and look at the lack of wheel well bump in the baggage area and see how much baggage area that gives us. So, baggage door, late model latch. Remember what I was saying at the beginning? T-shaped handle there, push buttons here. That means it's an 82 or newer. So we open this, and of course there's no retraction slots and bumps for the wheels to pull up into because it's a fixed gear. Look at the size of that baggage area. Flat floor. It goes back to about there. And those seats recline, go forward and backwards. So it's got a massive baggage area. The RG has got a big bump here, well, a big bump here that uses up all this space where the wheels are. So that's a big plus in these as well. It's the same size baggage area as the 182R. So I'm not going to get into a massive detailed overview of a 182 because this thing basically is a 182 PQ or R, same. But for people who aren't familiar, all metal, rubber leading edge, it's not de-ice, it's just for abrasion. Oxygen fill port, ground service plug, ELT antenna. Same wing, high-speed flap, 140 knots. It's got the bead on the trailing edge, so you can drop that at 140 knots, which would be gear speed in an RG, but 140 for first stage is good. It's 3 stages, 10, 20, and 30 degrees of flaps. 92-gallon wet wing, 188 square feet of surface area. Same wing in every way as a 172 or a 182 or even a 206. Obviously, wheel pants and fixed gear, Lycoming 540 and a 3-bladed prop on it. Now, there's a way you start these. People, you know, they think turbo, hot, cool it on the ground. You don't have to cool it on the ground because the turbo hasn't been running from 6,000 feet to the ground. So by the time you've landed, you're not turbocharged anyway. So shutting down is just mixture off. But when you start them, everybody's pumping and fuel pump and jockeying throttles and playing the game with it. When you start these, it is so simple. You go mixture in, throttle out to idle, key, and it'll start. Hot or cold, all the time. Always, turbo or non-turbo. And I'll show you that, and it better start. But let's have a look and see how that works. So I'm going to start it. I haven't primed it, I haven't preempted anything with it. It is hot, I've taxied it. So I'm just going to start it the way I would normally start one of these. And this is how you start all carbureted 540 182 turbo RGs or fixed gears or non-turbos with a carburetor. So you literally go master, mags, mixture, idle, not even crack the throttle, idle. And then you just brakes on, clear, and crank. Let's see how she goes. 2, 3, idling. That's it. Off. And just to make sure that wasn't luck or a coincidence, mixture in, clear, idle, not even cracked. 1, 2, 3, idling, every time. So it's tempting because it's turbocharged to run boost pump and jockey the throttle. They always want to be at idle. So I hope that saved some of your batteries. So this has a factory safety thing for the seats. Watch this. Forward, back, stops. Release, further back. So some planes have that. That was an option from the factory, and it's nice to see that's in here. So since we're inside, I won't spend a lot of time because it really is simply just a 182, but master, avionics. This is the original package you'd buy with these, called the Nav Pack 2. So 2 Cessna RT385 radios, old, very old school, but they work. Navcom, older GPS, ADS-B transponder, autopilot. So without that in it, this would have been pretty much what you got from the factory. But the layout is exactly the same as any late model production, you know, 70s even, right through to the end of production, 86, 182 panel. So it'll feel very familiar, very 182. Rudder trim, fuel selector. It's got a both position, so it's left, right, and both. 206s, remember, are both off at the top, so there is no both on a 206. So it's left, right, both, and it's got 88 usable gallons, but very familiar in every way in the front. Avionics, master, off. In the back, big, just like any other 182, but look at the size of it. It's a little bit forward of flying, so flying would be maybe there, but still, I'm just putting it forward for the video. So you can get in and out of this gap with people in the front. These recline, so you can lay your golf clubs on it or whatever, but it's got that giant baggage area at the back. And there's a little switch down here that controls that. So inside, 182. That's about it on this. So 182 RGs, 80 and newer, have this access panel in the rear right fuselage. And because this is an 82, and they made these from 81 to 86, it's got it too. So they're full screws. You got to unscrew it. They're not Zeus fasteners, but you open this, and in there is the battery, which is 24 volt. Remember, 78 and newer is 24 volts. So 24 volt battery. The avionics bay is in here. Autopilot servos and drivers and all kinds of stuff are in there. The oxygen bottle is in there. So it just makes it easier because you can put your whole head and shoulders in there and look left and look right and get to it without going over the back. And in the RG, it's harder because you've got the hump of the gear to reach over. This is more easy, but that is access to oxygen, autopilots, and avionics. And all of these have that. And so do the R Model 182 Continental powered non-turbo planes. Just another feature. So, as we said earlier, this has the big 540 Lycoming in it, 540 cubic inch, and it's carbureted, and it's turbo normalized. So you can imagine on a hot day at a low elevation with the mixture fully in, it's going to be very rich, or even at high elevation, even worse. So when you taxi it, lean it, because the carburetor is more happy with giant amounts of fuel flowing through it to feed the engine. So on the ground, lean it. If you don't lean it,
9 November Echo turning left base for 23 Placerville.
If you don't lean it on the ground and you taxi a long time, it'll lope and foul plugs, and just better if you lean it. Regular 182R in every way except the engine. If you lean it, remember to richen it before takeoff though. Controls, instruments,
Placerville, Cessna 9 November Echo, clear of 23.
attitude,
Bravo, turning final for 20.
gas, and run up. So digital tack, 1700 RPM. And I normally lean it on a hot day just to see if there's any more room in it. It wants to be there. Mags. Too rich. degrees, and all temperature's good, all pressure's good. Okay, let's go quick round the pattern. The significant thing on these and on the RGs with this 540 normalized engine is not to go to full throttle. I'll show you. Placerville, Skyline 2457 Echo, departing runway 23, local flight, Placerville. You go to the top of the manifold. It will go way over if you want it to, but you don't. So you just go to the top of the red, right to the edge of the red. Anyway. Right to the red, not full throttle. Look, it's half throttle. It's not even half throttle. Then, once it's taken off, pull it back to 24 inches, like a normally aspirated engine, which it is. RPM to 22, 23, and we're up. So right now my brain is going gear up, gear up, gear up. Here's the gear, here's the switch, here's the panel. It was not here, there's nothing in it. So this is in every way a 182R. In every way a 182R, except with a 540 Lycoming in it and not a 470 Continental U engine
Starboard traffic.
which makes it into an incredibly good plane without all the idiosyncrasies of RG-ness.
700 feet.
You can climb it at
Oh yeah.
24 inches forever to 20,000 feet.
Placerville, Cessna 9 November Echo, departing runway 23, staying at the pattern Placerville.
Got one in the pattern. Okay, we're on downwind. We're at pattern altitude. Level her off. Placerville, Skylane 57 Echo, left downwind 23, Placerville. So the gear, how fast is it? The gear's stuck down, blah, blah, blah. This is a regular 182 and it will do everything a normal 182 will do. So it'll do about 145 knots at altitude, you know, the normal 182 performance, but it keeps on doing it because it's turbo normalized. The RG is 10 to 12 knots faster. This can have bigger tires because it's fixed gear. This could be high altitude off airport. The RG can't because the RG's wheels wouldn't fit the holes. Okay, so I'm just backing her off a little bit. We never really used the power, we never really got it hot, so I'm just going to come around and do a normal 182 landing. With its beautifully docile Cessna wing and camber cup leading edge. Placerville, 57 Echo is on left base, 23, Placerville, full stop. First stage flap, 140.
Traffic Skyline 1 goes 9 Papa. We're 2.5 mile final for 36.
Placerville, 57 Echo, final, 23, full stop, Placerville. So I'm going to exaggerate it a little bit just because this is a high performance cross country load hauling plane, but it also
runway 30.
has the same wing as a Cessna 185 and therefore can land us slowly.
November Echo, left crosswind for 23 Placerville.
So we're doing 70.
Watch traffic Skyline 1 goes 9 Papa. Short final 36, full stop, watch.
I mean, what's it all look? Totally trimmed up. We're doing 65.
Placerville, Cessna 9 November Echo, left downwind for 23 Placerville.
And my gear is down. Don't need to check that. Prop in, mixture in, flaps are down. Okay, let's land it. We're doing 60. We'll try and make it slow. 48 indicated when it was in ground effect, reaching for the ground. Very capable. First exit off the taxiway. So this was Mark at Skywagon University doing a review on a plane as we get them in. We can't do like planes, you know, if somebody wants to do like a weird Zlin or something, I can't just do it because I haven't got one. When I get them in, I do the videos, or if people bring me weird planes and then talk to me about them. The next one we're going to do after this is a bit weird and unique. It's a Airframe Lightning, which is a light sport with a Jabiru engine in, and it's about this big. Very, very nice little plane. I'm going to learn about that and then we're going to talk about it authoritatively. That's the next video. But summing up on this one, these planes, there are 65 to 67 of them left in the world. Turbo normalized 182 fixed gear. So this would be that somebody would use for high altitude family load hauling, you know, 4 people, full fuel, but never run out of mouthful pressure, like a Turbo 206, but without the price and without the 6 seats and without the Continental. So a very, very nice, you know, firewall back is an approved design of Skylane that's been out for years, and firewall forward is that incredible turbo normalized Lycoming 540 that's in the RGs, and fixed gear, so it's insurable. So we do these videos and we do the podcasts, but we can't do the podcast unless somebody calls us and says, come and I want to do a podcast. So if you've got a interesting aviation story or some event that you had, maybe, you know, a landing off airport or something that would be interesting, we can have a cup of coffee and a chat and we can do a podcast. Call me. Same about the planes. Call me, we can do it if you've got an interesting plane. But other than that, we'll wind this one up. 182 turbo fixed gear. Thanks very much for watching. We got subscribe here and the bell and the planes flying and my phone ringing. Sorry about that. But if you like the video, subscribe and see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.